Shout out to Brent Venables and the coaching staff at Oklahoma. They provided some great nuggets from National Signing Day in their pressers. And we're going to talk about the thing that jumped out to us the most. All that coming up here in just a moment. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jay here with Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to these sports conversation, talking OU football, OU recruiting, college football, honestly, sports in general. Me and my co-host Jimmy is going to talk to you all about the National Signing Day interviews and press conferences, and there's a couple of things that jumped out at us that we think you all should be happy about. Let's talk about that cautious optimism on these Sooners, while at the same time talking about that twinkle that I'm seeing in the eye of Sooner Nation. So Brent Venables, as well as Ted Roof and Jeff Lebby, all had their post-signing day interviews, I guess you could say. Press conferences, that's the word. Couldn't get it out. Lost the word. And so they had them recently. Venables was postponed due to, I'm guessing he had technical difficulties, but I'm assuming he had something to do with the weather or whatnot. But because it was all snowy and everything. And I put up a video on Sunday, which was technically 2 days ago or a day ago, whichever one it falls upon, where I kind of talked about the OU weekend dump. And I told you all, me and Jimmy were going to talk about these press conferences, what we saw, what we took from it. Yeah. And so, Jimmy, I kind of let you lead off with those press conferences. What did you get out of them? What did you feel were something that's noteworthy from those three pressers?
Well, you want one thing or you want two things?
Give me what you got. I want everything.
Okay, so the first thing is my first approach, since I watched all three, I watched the majority of the Venables one because his was an hour and a half. He loves to talk. I didn't think he loved to talk that much.
I appreciate that, honestly.
I did. He had a lot of good things to say. The Ted Roof conference and the Jeff Lebby conference were around 20 minutes each. So they were, a lot shorter time and duration. But I was looking for a similarity or a theme, some sort of theme that was resonant throughout each of the three press conferences. And I think what that one thing was, and it's funny to say this about a football team, I think that one thing was people and relationships. I think there was a piece of each person's press conference that emphasized their emphasis on caring about the whole person, caring about the individual, not just the football player and what they can do for the program, and really nurturing those relationships. And I think that is so important for a number of reasons, because that's part of how you keep people in your program. If especially things aren't going exactly the way that they want, if they see themselves as a starter, but they're behind this other guy, I think having that caring relationship, having those open lines of communication, I think is one of those things that can be overlooked in a football program. So I love the emphasis on people. And part of what Jeff Lebby talked about is the feedback that they got from individuals who have visited on campus as far as the vibe, as far as the feel of how they were treated and how they were communicated with, and what they can tell in terms of the coaching staff caring about them as an individual, not just for what they can do about in their program. So I really did appreciate that. I think that's one of the foundations that needs to be one of the foundations of this culture. And not that it hasn't been before, but I just love the extra emphasis and that it was resonant throughout each one of the press conferences. That was the first thing. The second thing is, football-wise, I think they're going to be very unpredictable. Ted Roof talked a lot about multiple fronts on defense, and I've come to understand that Alex Grinch's defense, at least last season, they used a lot of 3-down linemen. So with this, I could see Ted Roof, 3-down linemen, 4-down linemen, just really mixing it up. He talked about attacking, being aggressive on defense. And Jeff Lebby, just in watching film on him, he didn't have to say it, but just in watching film on him, we know the cornerstone of his offensive system is being unpredictable. Multiple formations, running and throwing out of every single type of formation, every type of look, setting you up for one thing and giving you another. So I see that a lot as far as being on the field, and part of what they talked about as far as being unpredictable, as far as throwing a lot of things at you, making it to where you can't game plan for everything that they're going to do, being caught by surprise. And I think that, you talked about the success that this team has, being able to master that from a coaching standpoint and from an on the field standpoint is part of what could make them a 10, 11, 12, 13 win team, because teams just aren't going to be able to figure out, at least for this inaugural season of this staff, they're not going to be able to figure out what the hell they're doing before it's too late.
Yeah. I'm with you. So on your 2 points, masterful, Jimmy. That was the first thing I saw out of them was people and culture. You could feel it. You could feel that they actually genuinely care about the kids. Now, all coaches say things like that and try to give out that vibe. Some of that stuff is a natural aura that you put out, your natural pheromones of, I care about you. I care about what you do, how you do it. I care that you are successful as a human being more than you are successful as a football player. And those are the type of kids they also was recruiting. That was one thing that Venables had mentioned in that, 91-minute presser, which is a gift to us, the reporters, the media, to be able to have that access and him willing to just take time and talk. Because most of the time it's about 20 minutes. You get your quick questions in, answer your questions and go. But with everything that went down, he actually took the time sitting down on the couch and was just having a conversation like he was having a drink with some friends. Like it was a round table and just hanging out. Being that personable, that's a difference maker with players. Hence why I think that's why he's only had 3 jobs, is because people don't want to lose him. It's one of those, I really don't want you to go anywhere, Brent. I know we need to promote you. I'm trying to find a way, but if we get a DC that leaves soon, you can have this job. And I think that's one of the biggest glaring indictments on Bob Stoops for allowing that man to leave this program. He should have never let Brent Venables leave this program. He should have found a way to keep him. I mean, love your brother. You probably should let him just go find himself another head coaching job or somewhere else. Send him to Kentucky with the other brother. You should have never let him leave, because he gives off that family vibe and caring. Now, there's a few things I did not agree with him in his in the presser around, like the transfer portal and kids transferring and make sure they graduate. I mean, you transfer once, you got to sit out after that unless you're a grad transfer. So I mean, I think technically you get 2. I'll confirm it, but it makes sense. I've seen other players. When you graduate, you can transfer. You can do an instant transfer and get that last year. But the good thing is that a lot of the players that they're coaching are focused on getting that degree. And it seems that a lot of them will probably get them in 3 years, so they'll get their degree in 3 years. And I like that that's their focus. Like I said, they're focused on people. And the recruits said that too when they came. It felt like home. Apple pie. It just felt just calming and comfortable. When you walk into somebody's place and you smell baking, they smell them baking, you just walk in, you just like, no matter where you're at, once you start smelling like cookies, pies and stuff, you just like, man, it relaxes you. And it seems like that's the vibe they gave off to the players. And I love that. I love that about it. His analogies were awesome about even having instant water with players like Adrian Peterson. You just add water and you make the brownies, and then other players need to develop. I love that he was focusing on the developing side. So culture and people were the thing that all of them made mention of. I love that they were focused on that. Second thing is, I actually agree with you, again, is the creativity that they're going to have in their offenses and defenses. Perion Winfrey, I talked about it in the weekend dump, that he went out there and got MVP at the Senior Bowl. And the question a lot of people were asking on that was the OU defense bad because of the players or the personnel or the coaching? And it comes across as position, people not being in the right positions, Perion Winfrey not being on the field enough, him and Nick Bonito. They were all vocal throughout the season about their dislike for certain play calls, but I feel like their issue was kind of like the John Blake situation with Stoops coming in. People just weren't in the right places. Schemes weren't right. And I think them prepping them for the SEC this way, bringing in all these defensive players, because that was the focus on the National Signing Day deal. I mean, all those defenders they brought in, oh my God. I was looking at this, like, man, looking at this roster, I'm like, oh my God, look at all these people they're bringing in. It's majority defenders. Oh, they're focused on really being a defensive squad, which does what? Very well in the SEC. So, Jimmy.
Exactly.
So, Jimmy, outside of that, anything else stand out for you with National Signing Day?
Like in terms of these press conferences, or in terms of like any particular players?
Players. And any particular players jump out to
Mm.
you? Any particular? I mean, anything with National Signing Day? These last set of recruits
Yeah.
that came in that jumped out to you.
Yeah, as far as film wise, the one who really jumped out to me was Grayson Halton. Am I saying that correctly?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, out of California. Yeah, 6'3", 270. I think defensive end. Also played wide receiver. When have you seen that? You rarely see that, right? like
They're getting some athletic freaks out there, like the project that they got from TCU, Tyler Guyton. I talked about him, and what I liked about him was he caught a touchdown. He caught a touchdown last season. They put him out there.
Yeah.
He was an H-back. So he's a project, but he's a big kid, and he wears it well. Grayson Halton, oh my goodness. Play wide receiver.
Yeah, he's already, like, in some of his recruiting, I guess, assessments, they already have him as an NFL level talent. I mean, he is that athletic. He's a very mean tackler. I saw this when we talked about Jaron Canick, who I call the mechanic. You're just very mean tacklers, very nasty when it comes to hitting you. It's almost like they're pissed that you're making them have to tackle you, and they're going to make you feel it just because you made them have to do that. Yeah. So that's something that really popped out to me when I watched some film on Grayson Halton. So I think he's one of those who could come in immediately and make an impact. So defensive wise, because that's what I focused on, because we've talked a lot about their offensive players, offensive recruits that they have coming in, but just the emphasis on defense and one of the defensive recruits. So I paid a lot of attention to him. He's one I'm very excited to see. 4-star athlete, right?
Yep.
Who, like I always say, if you have the right coaching staff, you can turn 3 stars into 4 stars, 4 stars into 5 stars. So I think that within a year or two, he's going to be a 5-star level athlete, and is going to be someone defensive wise who people, not just locally, but nationally, are going to really be talking about as far as one of their top players. So I'm really excited about him coming in for 2022.
Yeah, same. I'm all for that. I'm looking at all of those defensive players, but the one that I'm the most interested, well, there's two I'm really interested in. It's going to be Gentry Williams and then Spears Jennings. I'm ready to see what that secondary is going to look like. I want to see if they're going to be able to play like now. I know Canick is going to get some game. I've already seen reports that he's been turning some heads at during these winter workouts. Whatnot, not spring, but winter workouts. But I'm ready to see what Gentry's going to look like. And then Spears Jennings Blah, blah, blah. Looking at Jones, I don't know why. I'm ready to see what they look like in that secondary. I'm pretty amped about what they're able to do and what they're going to bring to the table, because that's honestly the biggest thing that Oklahoma's problem is that fourth and, like somebody mentioned in the comments, was, 4th and 10, 4th and 15, 4th and 20, and OU's giving up first downs. And it's like, how the hell are you getting up first downs on 4th and on these 4th downs like this? Why aren't we stopping them more often? And I believe that now at this point, adding solid secondary players that can be on the island where you can do a cover zero and just all out blitz, change the game for them going forward. So. Yep.